Networking has always been the key to the business, and my dad was great at it traditionally, but in the new age of the internet, social media, podcasts and everything, this is the next level of networking. Like right now, we're getting to have a really cool conversation with you. Typically, you're a busy guy, we're busy. Like, how do we make this happen? We're going to both learn something from each other, but then also we're exposing our network to you and your network to our network. We're helping each other. How can we help grow not only the window film industry, but also the local Vegas community that we already work with?
So the only way Atomic Motors grows is it's part of a village. The only way Green Valley Window Tint grows has to be part of it. Everybody has to help.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Born to Tint podcast with the Miller Brothers. I'm Ricky. I'm glad to be here with my big brother, Josh.
How's it going, everybody? Today we have a very special guest, one of our neighbors over here. You might know him from Pawn Stars, Dr. Atomic, Bill with Atomic Motors here in Henderson, Nevada. We had an awesome conversation about business and cars. Check it out.
You're seeing a production company. When did that happen?
3 years ago.
What inspired that?
We started a TV show, and it was called Atomic Motors Car Culture, but then we changed it to Dr. Atomic's Car Culture. Because the car shows have fallen out of favor with all the big companies.
Yeah.
Motor Trend and all those, they're not buying those. So to pivot, what we did was we did a cooking show at the Ahern Hotel with Chef Joel Ott. So Chef Joel, famous chef, they have a big steakhouse up there. And we've filmed 28 episodes of that. And that'll be picked up by, it'll go on Tubi, which is part of the Fox station. So, yeah. We didn't mean to do it. It just happened because, everyone else back then was busy doing shows.
Mm.
Yeah, in the meantime, though, I became the car expert for Pawn Stars.
Oh, I did not know that. I don't watch enough Pawn Stars, unfortunately. Pawn Stars I consume are the clips that get pushed all over social media.
Yeah.
See a clip that's interesting, I get stuck in just the time suck of watching them over and over again.
Rick really is that smart.
I believe
Very
it.
Smart guy.
That show's like one of the biggest shows in the world, isn't it?
Pawn Stars, been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Nice people.
Yeah. I saw its ratings were
nice.
it was like where it's watched across the world, like in the top ratings across the board. It's crazy.
At least they're very friendly, nice people.
Now, for the production, like the coming to the show, was that leverage for the business? Because for us, like us starting this podcast,
No, it wasn't.
No,
No, we had the people that you help people up, correct? So you help people up.
Yeah.
Business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So typically, if you the typical person that would do these shows is an employee, film guy, gaff guy, set guy. There's no way almost ever for them to gain traction and have their own show. They wouldn't have enough money. They wouldn't have enough support and backing. They wouldn't be able to create the backdrops. We already had the backdrops because we're Atomic Motors, but they had the expertise, which is Josh Polistico, who is our director. Yes, I got all these names in this stuff. He's a director.
I'm sorry.
But is he a producer or director? Producer. He's a producer. He filmed over 400 episodes of the TV shows you're used to, like Hell's Kitchen, Pawn Stars. He was always on all those shows and still is. But for him to be able to go from a film guy with a college degree in production and making TV shows and movies to actually becoming a producer is almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to get the money? You just couldn't do it. Typically, for them to do this, they have to go from job to job to job. They got to make a living for their family, but there's no way for them to get ahead, right? Mm-hmm. So he came to me one day and said, "Hey, let's do a car show." And that was 2.5 years ago. So they spent about a year, 5 days a week filming over here. And, the day in, day out, kind of, take a car and put a big motor in it or chop the top or do whatever crazy suspension it is. And the interaction with the guys and not be able to make something run was supposed to run, that kind of stuff, right? But he was able to do it because we gave him the backdrop. He didn't have to build a set. We already have 5 acres, and now we have 368 cars. We have over 100 motorcycles. So there's always something. There's always content. They're looking for content. So they're able to put this together. One thing that helped us and him in the meantime is we met a fellow named Lance Craig, very smart guy. And he had you've heard of, was it Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy?
Mhm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Big and Rich.
Mhm.
So Big has a production company, and they make TV shows. The name of the TV show is Wide Open Throttle. I think that's what it's called, right? Wide Open Throttle. But they were very nice. They came out and did a TV show with us, and it's mostly aired on the eastern states, right? And it did well. Matter of fact, people came out and they really enjoyed visiting and bought some cars, and that was a lot of fun for that. But Lance coming in, he is a internet guy. Internet, people bring social media guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you do your own social media?
Yep.
You do? Okay. You would hire him if you were the Ahern Hotel. My best friend's a man named Don Ahern. And Don's real smart. I mean, it's way above a normal human. He's just like working for a general. And I've worked for a general before. So, remember, if a general makes a decision, he made a decision from 22 different sources of information. It wasn't one. It wasn't reactive. Right? It's proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, this makes sense. Let's move forward and do this, right? So Don was allowed us to use his restaurant to film the next show, which is, he got multiple restaurants. There's a place called the Ahern Hotel, and that's down on Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. Well, go back to Lance. Lance does social media for over 400 country western and rock and roll bands across the world, his company.
Oh, wow.
So he took us on like a poor stepchild who doesn't really get much. So, and he helps us every week. He loves cars, and he has cars, and we fix his cars, that kind of thing. But I introduced him to Don one day, and now he does the hotel also. But he does all these bands, so he knows how to reach out and do things. So they started a thing called the Dr. Atomic's Coffee Walk. We had to come up with the name Dr. Atomic, Cat did, for a gift store we built. Have you been to the gift store?
I've not been in it yet, but I know I've heard about it.
It's Dr. Atomic's Fusion Emporium. We have over 5,000 items in there. It took 17 months of tile work alone just to build it. In the middle of the store is a B-29 bomber engine. It's supposed to be one of the backups for the Enola Gay. Who knows? They made a lot of B-29s. But I do have friends at the Air Force, and we're able to get things from them, which is good. They put them on the arm. Like, we can get an F-4 Phantom, right? Or almost any fighter jet, as long as you put them in on display in your museum. And we have a museum setting, so it's nice. So back to Lance. Lance is really good at growing things, like you're good at growing things here, right? You have a podcast and it works and everybody's happy. So that's kind of that with Lance. And if you ever need to talk to Lance, pick his brain. He won't charge you. He'll just give you some pointers. I know you're experts at it, but that's all he does.
Oh, we're still learning every
always
day.
learn.
Yeah.
You can always learn.
So Josh Plisco, if you ever want to film, do some filming here. Different than you're doing, it would be different. It's a different type of filming for TV than you think. But you've got the basic setup. You know what you're doing, so I'm sure it'll be just fine. So if you want to have your own TV show, it has to be something that's catchy. Right now, food is good. Everybody likes food,
Yeah.
right? So we're doing food. And the premise of the show is quite simple. A customer shows up, one of my friends, whatever, it's someone famous. Like a couple of days ago, we did Chef Jean-Pierre, a famous French TV chef. And he's also owns a catering company here in town too. He's a pretty famous guy, a bunch of TV shows. And so I introduce him and we talk and chat and have a lot of fun. And then we film he and I getting in a car, right? And then driving off for a test drive and say, hey, why don't we go over? I've got a friend of mine who's a famous chef. Oh, I'm a chef, or I love to eat, or whatever it is. Then we end up at the Ahern. We sneak in the back door. And then I say, because we have a permanent display of cars at the Ahern, 24/7. Thank you, Don. So I say, I got to check on my cars, and they have lunch together. So it could be a baseball superstar, a football superstar. It could be a movie star, an actress, whatever it is. It could be it could be the governor. Hey, governor, come on down. So it could be anyone you want to do that kind of thing. They can come, and then I'll put them in a TV show, a cooking show, as long as you like food. If you don't like food, you're in trouble. So that's that.
That's awesome. So it's just purely out of just helping someone else lift them up.
Sure, yeah. There's no way you could have worked the other way, right?
Agreed. I mean, I remember when you first moved into that center, you started off with one building. I think now you guys pretty much have almost all the buildings, but like one.
One, there's a paint and body shop, and he has let me know he'll be gone in 2 months. So I just offered to buy all of his equipment.
Oh, so okay. So now it's going to be all of you guys.
Well, then we'll gate it, and then we'll put some more buildings there. We don't have enough room. What we're trying to do is build enough collection of cars. Remember my smart friend, Don, the large brain? He came up with a great idea. Let's put a functioning, living, breathing museum on the Strip to tell the story of Vegas, to tell the story of Nevada, to tell the story of America. One of our sister companies is a museum itself. We were there the other evening for an event, and that's called the Atomic Museum. Have you been there? Mm-mm. Well, you should go. It's over on Flamingo. What's that, Kat? It's fascinating. It takes a couple hours to get through.
Where's it at?
On Flamingo, downtown.
Okay.
It's been there 25 years.
Oh,
they have the original big H-bombs and all that kind of stuff, the whole history of it right here,
wow.
how they did all that. Oppenheimer and all that. They're really great guys. And gals. Tina's the one you want to talk to over there. And then we'll have other museums come with us, but it wouldn't pay for itself. Just because you have cars and just because you have museums it wouldn't be enough. So what it will end up being will be something more spectacular than you imagine. It'll be seating for 7,000 to 8,000 people, which will pay the bills. And for the reason you have to have that many seats is when someone, a famous singer comes to town or comedian and they want to fill it up, we believe we could do it 5 to 6 days a week, keep it full. Like who's your favorite entertainer?
Oh, comedian-wise right now, probably Joe Rogan, but
sure, so that would fill right up, right?
Yeah.
So seat sales is the only way you could actually ever pay for a building that size on the Strip, right? That's where it will be downtown. That you couldn't pay for it. You couldn't sell enough cars. It's just impossible. We will have an auction once a year, hopefully.
Oh, that'd be
I
cool.
think we could do well. Maybe there's no reason we couldn't get 1,500 to 2,000 cars. Each place we're looking at, which is a secret, has around 30 to 35 acres. So we have plenty of room for parking and plenty of room to run through. And they're both large buildings. We have 5 acres where we're at.
Yeah.
And that's not even nearly big enough. It just isn't. Well, because cars are space pigs.
Yeah.
And they take up a lot of room. You put 2 cars in a 2-car garage and 20 motorcycles in a 2-car garage. You choose your hobby. If you're really into numbers, you get bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? You would probably put 1,000 skateboards in there, right?
Yeah.
But the garage itself is just space. Normal car is big, it's 22 by 14, right?
So I mean, for me, what got you into this? Because I think I remember that when you first moved in over there, you told me that you had already built 2 other companies. I could be misremembering, but you already built 2 other companies.
12.
12, right? My bad.
Off a little bit.
No, off a little bit. But then you said right before you opened over there, you're like, I retired. After 2 weeks, I was like, nah. And then all of a sudden you were over there. And that was one of the first kind of brief conversations we had when you came over. You wanted some graphics. And then from there,
you've done all of them. You're the only place that does graphics for me.
I
We always
appreciate
have
that.
people come in and go, I want to go over here. I want to go over there. No, that's okay. That ain't going to happen. Matter of fact, my service writer has friends with some lady who's a graphic person. That's fine. But I'm loyal, so I wouldn't go there.
Oh, we appreciate that.
And very seldom do I beat you up on price.
No.
But I have done it. So what can you do? But not too often. And only if it comes in, it's like astronomical. But you're always a good value for the money, so I do it here. And it's your hometown, so that's good. And I do not want to be in the wrap business or the tent business. I have no interest. I really have no interest in taking tent off windows.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I got a Lincoln I got to bring back to you to get the tent off the windows. Why they do that, I have no idea. I don't. Believe it or not, something you should think about doing is back to what you said earlier about what did I do before that. There was a company called Arlen Ness Motorcycles over on Boulder Highway. Remember that one? It became Indian Motorcycles.
Yeah.
Okay.
I built those dealerships all around the world. And before that, I built classic car dealerships. So we sold them all. We were bought out by Ride Now. That's a motorcycle franchise company. They were then bought out by Rumble On. Rumble On is the largest seller of off-road and motorcycles in the world. They wanted some mortars and brick. Someone told me that it was around $435 million they paid for Ride Now. So Ride Now is no longer Ride Now. It's a corporate store. I'm sure they're fine folks, but gave us nothing to do. I lasted 3 months. We live over by a lake here, man-made lake back here, and I walked around it every day and was trying to get healthy and in shape, and I realized, well, this is boring. You know, back then it was a dead community. Have you ever heard of Lake Las
Oh,
Vegas?
yeah,
yeah.
we're out there all the time.
You
Yeah,
talk about
it's
it dead.
booming right now.
Now it's booming, but
Yeah.
it was dead for a long
Oh,
time.
it was on
yeah.
the brink of technically extinction after the housing market dropout. There was talks of like people talking about like I don't know if I should buy back there because I don't know if the community is going to survive. And it's like I don't think they stood all this up for this to die off. But yeah, it was a ghost town for a while.
It was bad. It was just
Yeah.
bad. And
It is
but
beautiful.
but I
now.
like being out there because it's it's mostly older people. It's quiet. Nothing much happens. I love being in Henderson.
Yeah.
Henderson's it's the safest city in America.
Mhm.
And have you ever thought about being a police officer?
I've thought about becoming a firefighter, but then my wife kind of shut that down after she had a couple of friends where one of her husbands died from stomach cancer directly related from being a firefighter, inhaling stuff. So I've mentioned it to her, like I could do that. And I thought about it in high school too, because it would have been something that I could have done. And then also my dad had always wanted me to take over the shop, or wanted us to take over the shop. So it's something my dad actually kind of pushed a little bit too. He's like, you can do that. You'll have all the benefits from the government. It'd be a great retirement and all that. And then also you can still run the shop when it comes down to it. So, but never under falling through it. Police officer, I've thought about that more often lately than I've ever have, but just because of, I guess, how everything is at the moment, with
I can introduce you to Officer Williams.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I actually considered it way more than he did. When I got out of the military, that was like one of the things I was thinking about doing.
Wow. What
And I
branch
have
are
a
we in?
friend, Army. But I had this to fall back on. It was really easy to get back into tinning, make money, and I enjoy it. I had a friend out here who actually was Metro for a while. He just medically retired, actually. But he was always trying to get me to do a ride along and come check it out. But,
Were you with the 36 engineers?
yeah, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
One of my service writers, he was in the engineers.
Yeah, I was a bridge crew member. So I was like, we went through basic in AIT with the Comet engineers. And it was like the last 2 weeks of AIT that we did a little bit of bridging. Then you get to your unit, and that's when you really learn how to bridge. And then Iraq. We actually did a lot of bridging out there. So that was cool.
And you built bridges?
Yeah. We did. We had like 3 main bridges we were building in Iraq. The Mabian Johnson Bridge, which is like a big giant Bailey bridge that you have to use cranes and stuff to actually put it together. The IRB, so like the float bridges, you drop pontoons into the water, they open up, and then you have boats in the water that catch them and connect them all. I was actually a boat operator. That was my favorite one to build for sure. So you could drop 6 bays and 2 rafts, or 4 bays, 2 rafts, a 6-bay float. So one of the bays that you drop in is a ramp. So you would drop 2 of those in and 4 of the regular bays. That right there you could take with 2 boats, bring it on shore, drop the ramp, put 2 M1 Abrams on it, and cross a lake. Or you can connect a bunch of them and make an entire bridge with it. So
you got to ride around tanks?
no, but I got to operate a boat in the Euphrates. We never did anything in the Tigris, but we built bridges over both of them. That was the funny thing. When I joined, the recruiter was like, I joined in 2006, June of 2006. Like, I think it was the height of the Iraq war. And the recruiter was like, bridging, man, that's awesome. Because I joined with my cousin and I had a bunch of options. And then by the time they looked at both of our scores and saw what we both qualified for, they're like, these are the 5 things. And I had seen something on like National Geographic of bridging, the float bridges actually, like, and the recruiter was like, yeah, you'll be in boats, you'll be somewhere near you'll be in like Seattle or Hawaii. He started naming all these places like off the ocean, which doesn't even make any sense. Like, I was a dumb 21-year-old kid. And he's like, they're not gonna need bridges in Iraq. And at the time when I was joining, like, I kind of wanted to go, but at the same time it was like, oh, that's cool. Get to my unit, actually get to basic, and we had one drill sergeant that was a 12 Charlie, that was our MOS. And he like immediately, because there was only like 12 of us that were that MOS, everybody else out of like 200 was Comet engineers, was like, all right, so you guys are going to get to your unit and you're immediately going to Iraq. There's only 5 units in the whole army that do bridging. And there's constantly 2 of them in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan, and they're on the constant rotation. So it was like, okay, cool. So it was fun. I liked it. We built, and the other bridge that was really fun is like, you would probably really like the DSB bridge. It's a transformer truck. You got a truck that literally has a crane and everything packed into it, and you pull it up and it launches out this entire launching system that then you drop pallets of the pieces of the bridge next to it, and you send out a giant beam across to the other side that touches down, and then you start lifting the actual roadway up and sending it across one piece at a time. You can put a 40-meter bridge that'll cross an M1 Abrams in 2 to 3 hours with a good crew. So we actually got to build a couple of those in Iraq too. That one was really fun. But if you do one step wrong, it's all hydraulic, you're done. Like you could kill the machine and then you're just stuck there with nothing to do with it. So
let's not kill the machine.
Yeah. We trained with that one a lot. So it was cool. Is you only need like an 8-person crew on the actual equipment to put a 40-meter bridge in. And you need people operating the trucks to drop stuff off as it's happening. But it was fun. I did that for 6 years.
Well, that sounds, the whole time I was in the service, I always wanted to ride in a tank. Never got to ride a tank. I wanted to get to ride around on one of those, what are those things called? The Abrams, or not Abrams. What's the little thing that the guys got in and rode around in them? Armored vehicles.
Oh, like a Striker.
I never got any of that stuff.
Yeah, like a wheeled armored vehicle.
None of that stuff. They had track ones. No.
Yeah.
All like I had the most boring thing. I was known as what is known as an 11 Bravo.
Oh, okay.
And so, so they teach you how to. Mostly, you have a rucksack and your machine gun and your boots, and change out of socks, and you are a pack mule, and. I remember we weren't even issued tents. We weren't issued sleeping bags or rolls. We weren't issued anything. We were pack animals, but I was the M60 machine gunner.
Oh,
so
cool.
I got to shoot everything. That was fun.
So I actually was I had a saw as my primary weapon, and I was a 240 Bravo gunner, which is like the new 60 basically, on the convoys. So I was actually a gunner that whole first deployment with a 240. That all of our convoys would have a M2, so a 50 cal as the front gun truck and the rear gun truck, and then we'd have 2 gun trucks in the middle of the convoy that were either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock that were 240s, and I was typically one of those. A couple times I got to be the lead gun truck, so I'd have a 50 cal. But it was fun actually. I had a good time. What's crazy is I almost enlisted as an 11 Bravo. That was my initial contract when I went to the recruiter station. I was 11 Bravo with Ranger School. That's what I wanted to do. Go home to my condo I was living at and tell my cousin I just signed up to join the Army. He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm working at 7-Eleven. Like, I'll join with you. So we go back into the recruiter station, and he had a GED, so he had to take an extra test at MEPS. So they tore up my initial contract, sent us to MEPS for him to take that extra test, and that's where we both enlisted together in the buddy program to go through basic together. But yeah, that was where my head was I wanted to be infantry. And so I think I lucked out on what I got. It was crazy too.
I think you lucked out.
Yeah.
I think your knees and hips are still in good shape.
Yeah, and I scored high on the ASVAB, so like all my line scores were over 120, and the MOS I ended up choosing was like a dead man MOS, like anybody could qualify for it.
Yeah.
So I made E5 in like 25 months. It was good. I liked it.
You'd like that, yeah. So your mechanical was around 120, right?
Yeah, every one of my line scores was like in the mid 120s.
It's good. So you would have given you an ASVAB somewhere 70 to 85, somewhere there?
91.
91.
Yeah.
Well, you could have been an astronaut.
I could have done anything in the military. My initial list was like everything, and I was too young and dumb. And I'm like, I want to be 11 Bravo.
Well, you'd have made a great 11 Bravo. You just wouldn't be in as good a shape right now.
Yeah, that's
a little
for
broken
sure.
up.
Yeah.
And the people from your military do come back to visit you. It's funny. One of my friends here in town, it was Tony. He came back to visit me, and they just come out of the woodwork, So it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's nice about Vegas. I get to see people from the military all the time.
Yeah. So here's a question. Back to the police thing. One thing you might want to do is before you make a final no, because you're both young enough to do it. If I was younger, I'd do it. I joined a thing called the Henderson Civilian Police Academy. You might have gotten a letter here from it. Did you get that letter?
Mm-mm.
How did we get that letter? They just picked on me. So, but it's a good thing to do because they're looking for recruits, guys like you. You already have, you understand the chain of command. You got that down real well, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with change of chain of command. But it's such a nice police department here in town. It's such a nice city council and mayor. Everyone's really good in this town. And we've been in other cities with businesses who are not as functional and not as high functioning, right? So, but the smarter you are, remember, you can always take a smart guy and make him tough, but you can't make a tough guy smart. So both of you would be great police officers. And, you already have a business, so that doesn't matter. It's going to run on anyway. So there you go. It's just, you look like you'd be good candidates for it. That's what I'm saying. So how long have you been here?
My parents moved us out here in 92. Business started in Simi Valley, moved out here basically because, Vegas is 115. Like, you have to tint your car. Like, so it was pretty much supply and demand type thing. And then, Dad worked for another company for like not even 2 months, if that.
Maybe. And then he got a van and just went mobile. And actually there was a car stereo shop at the end of this building that he started doing like sub work for them and doing all of their tint. And then while he was here, he met the owner of the building, ended up renting out one of the units in the back, which is where the Green Valley technically started. The car audio shop went out of business. We got that unit. And then I don't know, we bounced around in two units in here renting, and then we were able to buy
106.
one of them, and then we've bought all 4 of these since then.
Yeah, that was what my dad was always kind of eyeing, because this center has a majority owner, but when they first built it, they built it as business fronts with condos, because this is technically marked as a condo. So they sold like about 4 or 5 of them and then realized they weren't going to make any money doing that. So they kept them and started leasing them out. So there are a few minority owners in the center. So as soon as 106 went up for sale, it was a Green Valley carpet. As soon as they moved locations, it was my dad instantly jumped on the fact that he wanted to buy that one because he wanted to own, he wanted to stop leasing. Bought that one. And as soon as we bought that, the original owner knew that we weren't, or actually she already sold it off. It was the second owner from when we were in the plaza. He knew we weren't going anywhere. So my dad told him, like, we want to buy the end cap. We bought the end cap, and then we ended up buying 104 and 105 right after. And then we purchased, while we did that, we bought the lot behind us and the condemned building that we need to get a roof put on so we can actually increase the size back there. To actually, I think we have about approximately like 6,000 square foot warehouse if we get the roof put on it.
I think it was like 20 or 30 when we did the math.
No, 6,000. No, that's the whole lot. I'm just talking about the building itself.
That's right.
So
if you do need a building in the future, Don has a company called Cubes. Have you heard of Cubes?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm going to take you over there sometime.
Okay.
And he can make an entire complex, resort, or a house, or whatever you want to build, and just drive it down the street, right down there. Drive it down the street and install it for you. It's all steel buildings, and they're beautiful. You can't tell. And he does. Think about this. You've gone through the drive-thrus, like at the Dutch Brothers over here, coffee place.
Mm-hmm.
He built it.
Oh,
all right. So we'll definitely talk about it, because that's one of our next things within the next year or so that we want to actually move forward with. Because first it was like we rented out the front half of this building when we bought the 104 and 105, just because we needed the room just for the growth of the business. So the back half of this building holds our inventory for all of our flat glass, and that's where all our operation starts for flat glass is back there. And then we leased out this front to a gentleman that was doing contracting for the government, where he didn't have a sign up or anything. He was great. Came in, did his work. He usually worked in the middle of the night. And then his lease ran up, and then also his contract took him back over to the East Coast. So we were looking for someone to fill the space. And then I told my dad, like, no, I want to use it. The shop needs it. We are at a point where we needed the space. And then around about a year ago, we had, I had a thought of, how do I sell what we know, our knowledge of tinning, to the country? And then like the Flat Glass Academy was something that I was like, I think we should do this, because that's one thing in our industry that we don't have, is we don't have a place to where you can actually train labor to install on flat glass, residential, commercial. And that is where you make the money in our industry. That is the most profitable part of our industry. So we've been lucky enough to win a couple world championships in the World Tin Offs. So it's like, well, we have the credibility, we have the brand, we're known within the industry because we're second generation. So we have all of the connections within our industry. So I called out one of my manufacturers. We called another, the CRM program we use, TintWiz. I called him, and we kind of pitched the idea of doing an academy, and then also right before that, starting the podcast to start putting out content to educate the public and the fact that, hey, you can tint your house. Because a lot of people don't know that. Like, we'll tint someone's car and we'll mention you can tint your house. Like, you can do that. It's like, yeah, absolutely. And then after we tint their house, like, I wish I would have known this years ago. I would have done it just because of the energy savings on the home. So it's like, all right, how do we make it to where we can sit down and have amazing conversations, within the industry and outside the industry with business people like yourself. And I mean, I use that selfishly just to try to grow my knowledge of business in general, because I know I don't know everything. I have a long way to go. I probably started realizing that in my late 20s to early 30s, that I was still a dumb child and knew nothing. And I need to get out of my own way and try to learn as much as I possibly can from anyone else who's had more laps around the sun than I have. So I get to use this as like an hour and a half conversation to pick someone's brain. And then at the same time, we know naturally we'll be able to get clips from it, especially talking to industry people, talking about why you would tint your house, how you tint your house, what things you need to check for and all that, to where now we're putting out at least one piece of content every day that's related, that comes from the podcast that releases every week. So now our social media, we're actually putting out constant content of letting people know what you can and can't do. And now we're getting phone calls of people have us come out and they're like, I only called you guys. I don't want to call no one else. I didn't know you could do this. Like, and it's like when he goes out, because he does all the sales, he more often than not now, they're like, oh, I've been watching you on Instagram. I see all your videos. To where before we even walk in the house, they already technically kind of know us a little bit. They already know our story. They know what we're going to, how we're technically going to sell them or educate them on their windows and what products we're going to put forward, letting them know like this is what will get the job done. And it's just throwing our leads and growing our business. I think last year we grew by about 40%, and there were other factors to it, but the amount of lead generation that we've had is doubled.
Yeah. 12 months running, it's over 100%. Consultation scheduled is over like 120%. But I think our actual total growth last year was like closer to 60. But yeah, it's been good. The back building though is the next step for sure. Yeah. Like, that's what we've been talking about. We actually were just talking with our business mentor that like, all right, so right now we're renting out the lots because we've gated it all off, and it's several different gated off lots. So people are renting it right now just for the space, just to put stuff in. But we did the math on like, what could we rent these out for, or rent this space out for? And it's like, well, if it only costs us X, then we might have our money back in 12 to 18 months. Like, that's a good investment. We should probably do that now. Plus, we're going to need more space.
Yeah.
So we're going to use at least one of the units just to grow what we need for adding ceramic coating and all of that type of stuff.
Well, and then also be able to pull in large vehicles.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
RVs.
Like, our tallest door, I think, is like 10 foot, I think, exact. So we can squeeze most cars in here. And even like the tall Sprinter vans, as long as it doesn't have an AC unit on top, we can pull it in and it clears by like an inch. So we can get it inside the bay. But if we have to do a motorhome or anything like that, it's parked behind the shop and we got to work, go inside, in and out to get to it, which is totally doable. But if it's a windy day and we're trying to do a windshield on an RV, like we already tell the customer, like, all right, we'll be here at 7. We like to get those started at the beginning of the day. But if you wake up and there's like 15 to 20 mile winds, just don't drive down. We'll reach back out to you. We'll find a day that's not windy. Because if it's too windy, we can't do what we have to do on the outside, especially for like shrinking windshields. Like the tint's just going to blow. It's going to crease the film. So you won't be able to do it. Or even vehicle wraps. If we have an extremely tall vehicle for vehicle wraps, I'm pretty sure your service vehicle that we wrapped did not fit in here. So me and Jordan had to do it early morning. We can't have the sun on us. It can't get too warm because then the vinyl will overstretch. So it limitates what we can and can't do on super tall vehicles. So as soon as we have a bay that we can pull anything we want to, diesel semis, thank you. Pull a semi in or anything like that, it's now we can book it at any time, any day. And then also just having the extra space to also start introducing paint correction and ceramic coating, only because that goes right along with paint protection. Like most of the time when we get people asking like, hey, I want to get some PPF on my car, do you guys do ceramic coating? Do you do paint correction? Right? As of right now, I have to say no, we only do paint protection. We don't have those things. But that is something that we are adding to the repertoire, and actually sooner rather than later, because we just had a hire come in where he knew a little bit about tint, and we've now trained him. He's one of our auto installers, but he has about 7 to 8 years of paint correction training, which that's what he did previously for his career, was paint correction. So he knows how to do all that stuff. So I'm already looking into getting all the proper tools just to be able to pretty much go have at it. But I need to create a space for him to be able to do it to where it doesn't interfere with our tint. So, but yeah, a lot of things going on.
Yeah, paint correction is messy.
Yeah.
Messy.
That's been my biggest holdback on it, because every person I've talked to when it's coming in is like, you need to if you're going to do it in that bay over there, you need to put a curtain up all the way around the vehicle, because if you don't do that, you're gonna have big problems. Because we can at least seal that bay off, like this one over from us. We can seal that back bay off to where at least where the guys are tinning, I don't got to worry about anything being kicked up or a big mess, or it's just isolated in that one area. But still, I've seen the dust and everything that gets thrown off when you're buffing the paint or with a what would it be, solution that when you're putting it on. Thank you. Compound. When you're putting the compound on, where it kicks up all over the place, like it needs to be controlled to a point. Otherwise, it's just going to destroy the bay. Not in my eyes, not make the bay look presentable. So
that would be the really nice thing about getting that back bay up and going, is we can make it a full on wet detail bay that they can do every detail, even inside out of the sun.
Smart. That's what we built. We built a bay for that. You can take a look anytime you want. We also, on the walls, we put the the 4x8 plastic, kind of a bubble sheeting.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like plywood, but it's plastic. The entire building's covered in it, so you can just rinse it off.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, see, that's definitely been one of the big holdups. I didn't have anyone that could do it, or I could have easily sent people off for training for it, but again, I still don't have the proper facility to pull it off and not make it look like I'm just MacGyvering something together, which I don't want. Like if I'm trying to convince someone, or not convince, tell them like, hey, we specialize in this, we can do this. Here, come take a look at my bay. And I show them what I have right now. It's going to be like, okay, yeah, you can do it in here. Or if I take them back in the bay that's actually been properly set up, have the plastic siding, have a drain, to where it's like, no, we fully detail your vehicle down, then we correct your paint, and then we ceramic coat it. Like the presentation of that, and even making content to show people like this is the facility that you're getting your work done in, that goes a very long way. So
just let me know when you want Don to come over and we'll look at it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We can actually, I can make a phone call in a minute and ask him if we can go down and see the factory. Would you like to see the factory?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
What are you doing this morning?
We've got 2 more podcasts.
Okay.
2 more.
When you're done, call me. It'll be this afternoon.
Okay.
I'll run you down. It's right here on Eastgate.
Okay.
So right at the end where Eastgate meets Lake Mead.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be right there. And they also have Extreme, Cubes, and Snorkel.
I know exact place you're talking about then. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll go down and we'll do a walkthrough.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll write it up in no time. They have a really great engineer, architect guy. His name is Ernst. He'll draw it up for you, and Don will take care of you, make sure it happens, and go from there. He might even have some level of financing available.
All right. Yeah, that's man. So this is why we're doing the podcast. Like,
yeah. So that way you get it. Hey, the only way Atomic Motors grows is it's part of a village.
Yeah.
The only way Green Valley Window Tint grows is it has to be part of a village. Everybody has to help each other.
Yeah.
And the good thing is you're in Henderson compared to some other cities, so it won't be that difficult to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like kind of what you were saying on how you got into doing more media. That was a big part in my mind of like all of the other things Ricky just talked about that are benefits to the business. In my mind, networking has always been the key to the business. And my dad was great at it traditionally. But in the new age of the internet, social media, podcasts and everything, like this is the next level of networking. Like right now, we're getting to have a really cool conversation with you that typically you're a busy guy. We're busy. Like, how do we make this happen? We're going to both learn something from each other, but then also we're exposing our network to you and your network to our network. And it's like, you're probably going to share that you were on here with people. And it's like, we're helping each other. And how can we help grow not only the window film industry, but also the local Vegas community that we already work with. So that's like our guests are typically window film or other people here in town that we've already worked with, have a relationship with, or even want to develop one with, and we don't even know. And we've had people like that on too. Yep. So, yeah.
I mean, even technically what people would say local competitors, like,
our biggest clip ever is with another local tinner out here. And it's got like 2 million views on TikTok and 1.5 million views on Instagram. And it's another tinner out here, us just talking about tin windshields.
And you've thought about franchising?
I like the idea of licensing, or if we are going to expand, just own it. But
it takes about a year and a good team of attorneys. Kat and I at Atomic Motors, we just went through that. So now we're looking for prospects who are capable of being in the classic car business, who want to franchise. The first one we'll be putting together, which will open soon, will be in Hawaii. So that's fun. We've already sent 16 cars over, and that's at the Crouching Lion. It's a world-famous restaurant in Oahu on the North Shore. They have a facility there that's large enough to have about 20 cars in it. Eddie, Dr. Kim, is very well known for building Christian schools on the islands and in Korea. So that will be our first franchise. But if someone out there wants to be in the classic car restoration, building, sales, they can always give me a call at Atomic Motors. Of course, I'm Bill, Dr. Atomic, and we'll see if they qualify. It's easiest if a person has a good background in finance, a very good background in team building and leadership. So those are the kinds of people you're looking for, or an existing classic car dealership that maybe has hit a wall and can't really grow. Maybe they need someone else to tell them to leave where they are and get a bigger facility. Maybe they need someone else to give them, a hoorah and let's grow and let's go together as a team. We're doing it. My first reason to do this as a franchise will be to gain inventory. So let's say you have a fella in Dallas who's got 60 cars. You got another guy in Florida who's got 80. You got a guy in St. Louis, Missouri who's got 72 cars. Well, you get 10, 20, 30 guys together, you got a couple of thousand cars. So a person walks into Las Vegas and says, hey, Atomic Motors, I'm looking for a 32 Highboy. I want a blue one with big fat tires. Well, we have 3 of them across the country. Here's the info, here's the pictures. They've all been checked out. They're all good cars. And off you go. You're up and running. So it makes it easy for everybody as a village to grow together that way. Yeah. So that's something that we've spent a year with attorneys going through, breaking up the company into different small pieces so it can actually franchise.
And we recorded one yesterday, and then he had mentioned something that I've never really kind of thought of. Instead of franchise like this, if we were to open up into a different market or another big metro area going after, say, residential, because that's where, and on the flat glass side, because that's where I would say we're going to stick with our niche. I mean, we'll always keep our auto because my dad built the brand out here. Like, we're recognized. People have been coming to us for decades now for their cars. But the flat glass is definitely an area I wanted to grow in. Is with this academy, we are now looking at the fact of being able to bring people in, train them, and actually, at first we were going to let them develop like, hey, this is how I do it, this is how he does it, and let them kind of, pick and choose. But now, more recently, we're like, no, we're going to record myself installing, my brother installing, and our lead installer installing, and then we're going to look at the video and find out where the person, whoever's installing, doesn't matter who it is, what was the most efficient way they did it, and the quality still came out the exact way that we expect it to be, and actually create a certification program to where if we can actually get a process down to where we can bring people in within like a week or two, get them to a point, or however long of a distance or time span that is, get them to a point where you can train someone up, and then from there place them into a city to where if we open up in a different market, to where we have a set of installers already out there, and then also develop managers and people like that to be able to open up in different markets instead of franchising. Like just like A1, you ever heard of A1 Garages?
Yes.
Tommy Mello. Yeah, we got very lucky. Our mentor, Ryan Pineda, we were able to meet him. We met Ryan, already met Tommy 3 weeks ago. He came in to do a podcast with Ryan, and we got to sit there and pick his brain for a little bit. And then we got to sit in on their podcast and listen to him talk about how he grew himself from 6 to 7 to 10 figures to where, I think he said he's going to do an exit by 26, and it's going to be valued at like 1.2 billion. And like, and how he grew his company, and he's in 47.
I think his exit's going to be for that much. I think he said it's going to be worth like 2 point something. He said it right now, it's probably evaluated over $1 billion. Yeah, either way, it's a lot of money.
And he's in like 47 different markets. And how he developed that was he has a strong training facility and also a strong program to where some of the guys go in, and within 8 weeks, he's turning out 25 certified techs every month now, to where now he can actually service all of his different areas, to where as soon as you go through his training, like, you then get placed in a market. And then that's how he's grown his business. And like how my brother was breaking it down yesterday, I was like, if we do this correctly and we're actually able to come up with a system to where we know we're bringing someone in and they're hitting the standards of what we want and they're installing the ways we want them to install, like, instead of taking what I'm saying and saying, well, I see how you do it, but I see how these other people do it, I'm going to try something in between. Like, I know my way works. Like, there's no way, there's no reason to stray off what I'm doing because I've already been successful with it. So there's no reason to veer off that, and be able to actually put someone through training like that to however we develop it between we find the best ways to get them to be a top level installer, and then start attacking markets where high-end residential is ripe for the picking, especially in our industry, because our industry is technically extremely young. It's what, 1970s?
Yeah, compared to most other service industries, like there aren't any trade schools out there right now. I mean, that was actually listening to Tommy talk about what he did, going and looking at all the other service industries out there, going and seeing what all the big guys in HVAC and roofing and everything else was doing. We kind of have a similar market as far as the garage doors go. He was saying he couldn't find any garage door companies that were like over $100 million businesses that weren't doing strictly commercial. Nobody had really cracked the nationwide residential market. And that's kind of, he took all the lessons he could learn from all the other industries and finally created a garage door company that fits that category. Same thing in the tin industry. Like all the big tin operations around the country focus on big giant commercial jobs. That's all that they do. And a lot of people, when you go to the industry meetups or conventions, whatever, everybody's going for commercial because those are the big ticket items. And a lot of those companies don't even want anything to do with residential. But there's money to be made there for sure if you can systematize everything properly and kind of follow the model of what somebody else has already done, right? We don't have to recreate the wheel. Like, do what Tommy did. Let's see what works in these other service industries and how can we implement that with us. But I mean, as far as whether we own it or franchise, I think it could work either way. I would definitely love to like talk to you more about that because they both clearly work. Yep. So, and maybe that would be a great idea if you find someone like in a market that's in that same position. Maybe they already have a business and they just don't know what to do and they're scared to take the risk that's required to grow. But if they have a partner to work with that can give them, here's the model, here's the systems, here's the SOPs, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to help you along. And you've got a partner who's already invested in the industry and knows. Because I think in my mind, the biggest thing to scale that is you need a salesperson that knows what they're talking about. And that's harder to train. But someone who already knows the industry can be trained up to a certain standard of, here, we're going to use meters to test the glass, and here's how the selling process is. Because, I mean, realistically, that should be the person that's doing the selling, at least at first, should be like the franchise owner or someone that's got some ownership in it. So franchising could be cool. Yeah. I don't know. There's so many ideas to go off of. It's crazy.
Do you have off to another subject, do you have a Green Valley window tint mobile? Have you thought about making some unique, weird vehicle that everywhere it goes? I see you've got your vans that are orange.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Have you thought about doing something, a really strange, something weird that everybody has to see?
Yeah. What's funny is when I got out of the Army and I actually worked for a film manufacturer in the Dallas area for like 4 months as a sales rep. And then I couldn't stand that coming from the military, growing up in a family-owned business, working for like a corporation. Outside sales for that I didn't like it at all. So I opened up my own location of Green Valley Tint in the Dallas area up in McKinney in 2013, 2012, 2013. And my neighbor was a graphic shop who had an old like Volkswagen van wrapped like the Scooby-Doo that he just left parked on the corner, and people would pull in and stop every single day and just come take pictures with the Scooby-Doo van. So
the mystery machine.
Yeah, mystery. Yeah. So I've thought about that. Like even our vans up front, I've thought about even doing that with those. Like, is there some kind of cool niche-y thing we could do with those that would make people want to come take a picture with their kids? Like even like the Ninja Turtle van or something. Like one of those would actually work for that. But right now we have one of them wrapped with like the Raiders, but
you got to rewrap it. It's burnt.
And have you seen the shoe company out here in Henderson? Like
sure,
off of Eastern?
I've seen all those. Yeah.
That is a good idea. What are you thinking?
You have anything. You have a rocket car. You can have anything you want.
Yeah.
If you need help, we can help you build it. We build rocket ships. We built the best flying saucer you've ever seen. You cannot. Someone from NASA would say, "Well, that's a real flying saucer." We built it for Tim Herbst, and he has a chain of gas station and a very smart guy, very, very smart man, and casinos called Terribles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so when you go out to Gene on the way to California, there's one of the world's largest gas stations out there now. Inside, I think there's a 50-foot Sasquatch. There's full-size airplanes, stud planes and stuff in the ceiling. But there's also the greatest flying saucer you've ever seen, with lights, a dome, a person can get in it, and it's flying through the ceiling. So you can build anything. If you think up something, we can just make it for you.
Now
That's
I'm gonna have to
killer.
stop at that gas station.
Yeah, I stop there all the time, and I don't think I've ever gone far enough into it
No.
to see that.
Either
So
have
when
I.
you go in straight to the door, it'll be on your left.
Oh,
You can't miss it.
okay. Is that's on the? Okay, maybe I don't stop at that one. That's
Gene.
the big one on the right hand
Yeah.
side.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I always get off and go to the other side.
They're really a good family, a good business, and the reason you do these things is to keep people's attention longer.
Yeah.
They stay in there longer. They can buy more pizzas, and they can buy more soda pops and T-shirts and doodads and widgets along with the gas, and maybe put a couple of bucks in a machine and win $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you had a window tint mobile, something really crazy, some kind of nutty thing, we can make it out of anything. I have drop tanks from the British Hurricanes. We build rocket ships all the time. You'll see when you come by the store, in the gift stores, full-size spaceships. We build them, and we put very high-end paint jobs on them. You cannot. I mean, sure it flies. You can't tell it that it doesn't fly.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
in the new museum, there's some things we can't do, but we can get from the company. The new museum we'll build down there. We'll have the Air Force will donate on the arm the jets, different types of jets hanging from the ceiling. We just had to paint them in the correct livery. I don't know if you ever been out to the desert and seen all the airplanes lined up out there. There's thousands of them.
Where?
Almost any major airport and desert out there.
Oh, okay.
Military bases. You've been to
Oh
military.
yeah, like out by Edwards.
Yeah, the graveyards.
Yeah.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's, if you want one and you're a business or a museum and say, hey, I want to put it on display, there's a form you fill out, and then you can get yourself something for display as a thing for your company.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
so
be a
all
bad
kinds of things. But
Yeah.
your window tint mobile, I think I would make it so people could go inside and enjoy it on April the 5th, January, February, March, April the 5th. We have the world's largest potato. You've seen it down there before.
Yeah.
The Idaho potato serves 1 million French fries. Well, that's their potato. It goes all around the world. They just sent it over to Hawaii for a week. They drove around the Big Island for a week and put it back on a ship and brought it back. So it'll be back with us on April 5th, Saturday, April 5th. We'll get between 4,000 and 10,000 people to come by and take pictures with it. In the meantime, of course, they can see the store and the cars and the motorcycles and the airplanes and all those things. The other thing we started doing that really helped our business is, let's say you're going to get married and you need a facility for a party.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the Strip or somewhere else, it's kind of, I'm not going to use the word tacky, but it really isn't as fun as it could be. A big white room is just a big white room with
Yeah.
some curtains. But all of our showrooms are just gorgeous. We have almost, my guess is about 5,000 frames, pictures, and oil paintings. If you haven't been there in a while, over 5,000 covering all the walls in there. So we rent these big rooms out. One of our rooms is 9,500 square feet. We just had EOS Fitness there for a holiday party, 800 people. So we do this. We have 5 different venue sites for weddings, quinceañeras, here right there at Atomic Motors. So most people think, well, it's just cars. No, we have a full-time staff that takes care of only doing events in the evening times.
That's awesome.
So that's, it's another stream of income, but it gives people something different than just a room with a light on the wall that looks like stars
Yeah.
or snowflakes. This is really great. You
Yeah.
look up, there's a full-size airplane.
Yeah.
One of our airplanes has a 45-foot wingspan that's hanging from the ceiling, right? Currently.
Yeah.
And so planes, trains, and automobiles, there's all kinds of fun rooms. We have one of them we just built has a stage, a big stage. You can put a full-size big rock and roll band or orchestra on it. And we even have an electronic dance floor that is quite the thing. It lights up. It's got thousands of lights that light up and does patterns and stuff like that when people are dancing. So if anyone out there is listening and they need a place for a wedding that's unique and special, or a birthday party or a family reunion or a big business. We do a lot of big businesses. It could be anybody. We're available for you. Just atomicmotors.net. Reach out and we'll help you fill your need.
We might be able to. I'm gonna try to get one of manufacturers. Somebody do something for SEMA. I'm sure you ran out for SEMA like crazy.
We rent the cars. When you go to SEMA, you see all those crazy cars in there.
Yeah.
Oil companies and custom companies rent our cars every year. We have dozens of cars.
Do you end up having after parties at your facility during SEMA?
We have, yes.
Yeah, so that would be cool.
So if you're going to do it, though, get a hold of them quickly.
Yeah.
So we can get you scheduled.
Yeah.
And our prices are less. Like if you go to the Strip and you rent a 9,500 square foot facility for, let's say, 800 people, the facility alone is $45,000, just the room. Typically, a party like that would be around $150,000. We're only $8,500 for the biggest room.
All right, all the manufacturers in the industry, once this comes out, who can get it first?
Yeah, that's it. This could be a lot of fun. SEMA's great. What a great mix of people that come out in one location every single year.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're so spoiled being here.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'll have people like, oh, have you ever been to SEMA? I'm like, yeah. Unfortunately, I've gone almost every year since I was 16, and like after like the 15th year, I think I finally missed a year, and it's just like, it's awesome, but at the same time, I've gone to it so much, it's just like I'm definitely 100% spoiled because like someone will go to it for the first time, like that was amazing. I'm like, yeah, it was. It is amazing. It's fun to go to, but I've gone to it so many times because it's like every year, like you're gonna go down. I'm like, I might go this year. I don't know. Like I always will at least go down, see our manufacturers, talk to the people that I don't get to see, but at industry events. But like actually walking the showroom floor, I don't think I've done that in the last couple of years just because of just time restraint. And it's just like just to carve enough time out to get down there just to see the manufacturers. And then with what we've been doing for the past 5 years and trying to grow the business and everything, it's like, I just don't have the time.
I think this, actually, I'm just thinking about it right now, especially now that the Tesla tunnels or the boring tunnels are in there. It makes it so much easier to get around there.
Yes.
And the last couple of years using that, I haven't been taking the walks through all the halls, so I've seen it even less the last couple of years. We should plan out like a full day or two with Jordan to actually walk the show this coming year and get a bunch of content and checking everything out.
You should have your podcast there.
Yeah, that would be cool too.
And if you ever want to do a podcast there at the Atomic Motors, or if you want to do one at the Ahern Hotel, I'll get it set up for you.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's the reason we got this in-house finally was we rushed it right before SEMA. And during SEMA, we had a bunch of people from the industry come down here while they were in town. And we recorded like 9 of them. But it would be really convenient to be able to do it down there.
Yeah. No, it definitely would be. But yeah, no,
it's just around the corner from it.
Yeah.
And they have a massive parking structure. We just had an event over the weekend with Hot Wheels. Convention was in town. About 20,000 people came to that. We had 52 cars up on the roof at the top, and then there were another 150 cars, custom cars, and the cars that were actually turned into Hot Wheels cars for a car show. And that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Matter of fact, we're bringing the last 7 back today. It's just back and forth, back and forth. But it's worth it because you meet people you've never met before.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to get out. So if anyone has a car show and they need cars, like at SEMA, if any of the manufacturers need a car, you can just call me. And I've got all the top show cars that were from history. We have 5 cars that were Good Guys Pick of the Years, really modern, crazy hot rods. We have cars that were Grand National Roadster Show winners, those kind of cars. We got all kinds of stuff, and we'll work with you. So if you need a car to show off what your company could do and put a tent on, and you can always take it off. You can use that for a display car.
Oh, I'll definitely be getting the main manufacturer that helped us do this, and the main brand we've stuck with majority of we've had them the entire time we've been open. I'll be getting them in touch with you because usually they'll get something from they used to get it from Phoenix just because they had a warehouse down there. They don't anymore, but they would always grab a car and they drive it in, or they would try to find something out here. So I will be giving them your guys' number to reach out because that's definitely every year at least they grab one car and then they'll do something to it, either put some tin on it or paint protection and then have it as a showpiece. So
I've got a question about the cars, like sourcing them. Do you go to like the big auctions like Barrett or like?
We have been. The challenge I find, I'm going to give you some success stories and some failure stories. we just went to Meekum and was able to get 4 fun bikes to go in the museum. We have a motorcycle museum there. And if you've ever driven through at night, you'll see it all lit up and all the bikes on the racks that are all over the place. More classic motorcycles, vintage motorcycles, crazy hot rod motorcycles. But the cars, yes, sometimes if there's a unique special car and you can get under it and on it and look at it very closely, and you hope that it is exactly the car that's represented, it will not be. I find many times during auctions, because you can't drive them, you can't do a compression test on them, you can't check the wheel bearings or the brakes. Sometimes they do a very good camouflage job on rust. You could give it your best guess. So we mostly do not succeed at that, buying a car, because we come back and it's another 20, 30, 40,000 in the car to fix it the way it should be. I can tell you one of the big auctions that have come to town not very long ago, a very important person in the city who builds big home developments, purchased an exotic E-type Jag, XKE. And when he went to pick it up, it wouldn't run. But we finally got it started, barely crippled around. He found that it did not have second or third gears in the transmission. Of course, when he goes to get the car fixed, it's our fault because he bought the car without having it inspected. And when we give him the bad news, well, trans is going to come out, sinkers are gone, the gear's busted. You take it apart and there's just pieces in the bottom and the transmission, and everything's worn out, but they made it really pretty, and none of the electrical works. I mean, not one thing on the dash worked. No lights, the attack didn't even work. So it needs a new wiring harness. Pretty soon, what a nice one of those probably sells for $150,000, right? And if you buy it for $50,000, there's something wrong. So you'll take that other $100,000 to put it back together. Right? And the only people they're ever mad at would be the second person who has to fix it for them, right?
Yeah.
But, so yes, I would say no. Buy a car that you like, the very best car you can buy for the least amount of money after you have it fully inspected and you made a decision that was based in reality, not just your desire at the time because you're hot and bothered for the car. Buy the best car you can for the least amount of money, have it inspected, start with a compression test. Now, we have a big machine shop. We build engines for everybody. We even do the engine work for CarMax. They need a cylinder head, they bring it over. We're preferred for CarMax. So in our machine shop, there's not a lot of machine shops left. But back to auctions, you don't know if it's got a good engine.
Yeah,
you
so
have
coming
no
to
idea.
you is a better idea if it's something you're trying to get and keep.
Haven't you ever noticed they push them up there and then push them off?
Yeah.
What?
They don't drive them in. They like put them in
at the
neutral.
show, yeah. So you don't get to they don't get to inspect those at all. It's pretty much just
You eyeball it?
You trusting the person who's selling it that they're not going to
It's
screw
funny.
you.
What made me think about it when we met Tommy Mello, he was just saying like the day before or earlier that day, he had went to Salt Lake for one of those auctions and bought the Eleanor
From Gone 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
That's a great car, by the way. The parent car to that car, the one they modeled Eleanor after, it was built by Carol Shelby and the team a number of years ago at a cost of $505,000. We have all the receipts on it. It's a neat thing. It's a GT 568.
Oh wow.
And it's brutally fast, and it has 383 miles on it since it was built.
Oh wow.
The engine, Shelby charges $80,000 just for the slug of the motor. And we do the continuation cars for Shelby here. Tom Bernard, who you should have on sometime to talk about Shelby's, is a great guy. I can get him down here for you if you want. But he had the big Shelby Raceway speed shop out at the Raceway for a long time, where they built all the continuation cars.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what a continuation car is?
I could probably take a stab in the dark, but I'm going to let you tell me.
It's CSX numbers. So Carol and the team decided they were going to bring back the original Cobras and Daytonas with a new set of serial numbers, handmade cars. We have 2 of them now, both by famous people. I can't say their names because we have to sign stuff, but we build them for people, and they're real Shelbys. And because Thomas Bernard, we couldn't do it without him. We wouldn't do it without him. We have no interest in doing it without him, but he needed a shop that the overhead wasn't so high, and that's us. We don't charge him a dime to be here. Not one dime. We don't no floor space, nothing. He joined the team, so he's part of the team now.
That's sweet.
I got lucky enough. We ran into we've done work for when he was live, Carol Shelby. We did 2 of his properties out here, and then me and my dad drove out after we did the houses out here. One was for his daughter. His wife at the time asked us if we would come out to Bel Air and tin his house out there. My dad was like, "Oh yeah." So me and my dad drove out. We were going out for a concert actually, and we drove out 2 days prior. And then me and my dad tinned his house in the hills of Bel Air. Got to meet him. My dad brought a model 67 car with him. We asked if he could sign it, and which his wife joked. She goes, "And usually this would be $800 for him to sign this." She goes, "I'll get him to sign it. I'll mail it back to you guys." So my dad has sitting in his office. He has a model car signed by him. But yeah, I was very, very lucky. I didn't realize at the time too. I think I was probably 20 years old, kind of who I was meeting. I knew the vehicles, but not really knowing like what, the legend he is, like not really understanding that. But it was kind of cool that I got to meet him, and see his. He had a GT sitting in his one of his houses out here, just sitting in his garage. And his wife's like, "I don't drive it. There's too much your guys' freeways. I have to stop too much. I have to use the clutch too much, so it just sits there." So, but no, it was really cool to be able to get to meet him and see all the memorabilia and stuff he has in his houses. Like all the properties are in. He just had random stuff all over the place. It was really, really cool to get to meet him.
Great human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So one of these days it looks like you're going to expand. It's good for you. You're going to either do it yourself or franchise. You'll train your managers if you do it yourself. Good. Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have more control if you do it yourself, obviously. Just don't let debt carry you forward.
Yeah.
You'll get sunk with debt. That'll kill you. And you're going to do SEMA. We'll help you get some cars for that. And you'll have a big party at Atomic Motors, SEMA. Have you been down there recently?
I need to come over. It's been a minute since I've even been over. As we've been talking, I'm like, man, that's like right there. And I haven't been over there in a minute. Like, we need to go over there and record some stuff, Jordan.
Yeah, you got to get over there. You got to see some of the new buildings.
Yeah.
I've been
like driving by, seeing you guys expand and take over the whole center, but I haven't stopped in a minute.
I've been by a couple of times just to take a look at a couple cars, but it hasn't been recently.
That was the last time I was there. The purple van that we put like purple tint on. That was years ago.
Volkswagen. Yeah, that was years ago.
Yeah, I made like a little piece. It was like so funny. It was like one of my only TikToks I ever put on my account that I can't get into now. But I used like the Purple People Eater song as the song I made. It was really bad, but that van was cool.
Yeah.
That was the last time I was over there, so that had to be.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
I still have that. I still have the purple tint. It's sitting in a corner right now.
That's funny.
one of the bays. But
we sure got lucky having you move in right there though, because it's kind of perfect. Like someone who specializes in awesome classic cars is always good for us to have near.
Remember, there's 37 technicians over there now. We have a dynamometer. We have a full upholstery shop. We do the best leather anywhere. We have a full paint shop. We have engine machine shop, transmission shop, electrical shop. We'll rewire a car. But they're all really great guys. They're good men, and they mean well. They don't, have any weird opinions about things. They all kind of pull together in the right direction, so it works.
So would you say then, because that was like something I did actually want to kind of get into, like with how many people you manage over there, is like obviously having a strong culture a very big part of it, and then also just like have strong managers, and then how many departments you guys have. Like we finally have gotten to the point now where we technically have 3 departments. We have our admin, so the front sales. We have the auto department where I have an auto manager running our installers. Then we have a flat glass department where I have a flat glass manager now running this department, because I think we have about 17 people on staff. And that was our biggest learning curve that we had to get by, is AI had to let go of trying to do everything or try to help or correct everything, and actually put people in positions of power to let them like flourish. Like, let me support you. Like, this is your department. This is what I need done in this department. These are the goals I want hit. How you do it is, you know what you're doing. Do your thing. And if you need help or anything, let me know, and then help them grow to where they can then help their team. That has definitely been one of the harder things for me to begin with after my dad had his stroke in 2020, and like he was exited from the company. It was like pretty much just like, now we're running it. And at first I had the tendency to micromanage, and I thought like I'm nowhere near as bad as my dad. That was the probably biggest problem my dad had, is micromanage everything really hard, to where he'd ask you to do something, and before you could even get it done, he's already called that person, explained everything he just explained to you to them, and then I'm asking, hey, I need you to get this. Oh, your dad just called me. It's like, why are you telling me this? Like you're telling me to take care of a problem for you, and then you don't even give me more than 15 minutes to try to take care of this problem. And like, that was always a power struggle between me and my dad. And then when I got put in the position of like run the company, I definitely was a lot more, I let go a lot more than he ever did. But then I started realizing like, I'm not really empowering these guys. Like I see something going wrong or something happening in their team, and I would address it instead of going to them and saying, hey, this needs to be cleaned up. I need you to take care of this for me. And then let them go take care of it, to let them know. Because everyone was always coming back to me, like always asking me, instead of going, like, go to your manager. Like if there's a problem, you should be going to him. And then if it has to elevate to where I have to get involved, of course I'll get involved, but he will be able to take care of anything that you need to take care of, either job wise, tool wise, anything in that department. So that was very hard for me to do. So how does your operations over there, like you have obviously multiple managers in different departments? Like
it's like any dealership, you know, a dealership would have a sales department, pick on Ford. Then it would also have a repair facility, you know, the shop. Then it would have a parts department. Then it would have a detail department. It would have a paint department. And this one has a machine shop, which a normal dealership wouldn't have. It has a gift store department. And they're all ran by somebody. It's not me. It's a corporation. This is not a sole proprietor. It's a straight corporation that has its own legs, and the people who run it, run it. I'm not there right now. The ultimate final word, obviously, would be the vice president of the company. And she is the smartest one of the bunch, so she makes sure that it kind of, you ever seen Disney where the mouse is directing Fantasia, where the mouse is directing with his wand? That would be her. But they all have to report back to her. That would be the managers.
Okay.
So just like in any corporation.
So just have strong managers in those positions, and just have strong SOPs lined out to where they know what needs to be done, how things get handed off, passed around. Because that's something right now that I am putting all my time into, is because we've never really had standard operations, because we were like 6 to 8 people, and it was really small niched. My parents were keep it small, keep it small, keep it all. And like me, my brother, and my sister are on the opposite side of that, is no, we want to grow and scale. And I don't want to have to be relied on. Like I have to be in the shop every single day. Like if I have to go take a vacation, like I'm lucky enough now, we've gotten to the point, like next month I'm going back east to see my wife's family. I will be gone for a total of, I think, about 11 days. And like, I'm not worried at all. I know that at what we have in place right now, the shop will be just fine. Like, I mean, the fact that we're going to be...
When are you going to be gone for 11 days?
Middle of March. Oh, God. But like, even the fact that we're in here now, we're going to be in here majority of the day. And at the same time, I know everything is going to operate the way it needs to. And it's mostly because we finally actually started laying out standard operations of how things need to be done from department to department.
I think the big thing was we sat down with Ryan Pineda, who's like been mentoring us. And it's like, all right, we went over all the different responsibilities. Like, who does this end up landing back on? And we like charted out like where all the seats that you should have, and it ended up being like Ricky, me, like almost every different department. Like, you're the decision maker, where that needs to be unloaded onto somebody else, and like that's been huge.
Yeah,
and actually finally implementing it. Although the other day you did ask me to do something, and then when I went to do it, you'd already done it.
No, I shouldn't even ask you to do it though, because you were in the middle of selling. That should have been.
It's still a work in progress, but it's a lot better.
Yeah. And you're both married?
Yes.
Their wives, kids?
Yeah.
Your wives get along?
Yeah. Yeah, they actually both are the same career, so they both are hairstylists. Although mine's not working right now because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and
that's what I thought when I saw these little cubicles. This would be perfect.
Oh yeah, we could run a little daycare out of here in the day, huh?
Yeah, I know. You just put hairstylists in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, yeah. My dad
actually that wouldn't be bad.
My dad tried convincing my wife of that he was gonna build out a studio for her to come down and work, and she's kind of a homebody. Her salon that she's at right now is probably less than 10 minutes away from my house, so it's real close. Yeah. And then she took about 2 months or 2 years off to begin with. My son was first born. Like,
you live close to work?
Technically, not really.
I mean, everything in Vegas is close.
Yeah, I live back in Inspirata, so it's about 25, 30-minute drive for me.
I'm the closest, though. I'm like less than 10 minutes away.
Good for you. You'll find that the drive isn't worth it. There's no house worth that drive after a while.
Oh, believe me, whenever my wife comes down to the shop, she's like, "You do this every day." I'm like, "Uh-huh." But it's almost like how you said, like Las Vegas, like it's quiet back there. I love being back in Inspirata because you're only back there because you live back there. It's quiet. It's a great community, tons of parks. It's a master community, so we have access to probably, which is within our community, about 5 different decently sized parks, community pools. So, and I've lived back there now for 15 plus years. So like to me, a 20, 30-minute drive, I do enjoy it in the morning because it's kind of like I get to listen to my podcast on the way to work. And like I have a little, me time on the way to work. And then after work, I get a little bit of decompression time too. After, depending on how the day is here, if it's been a stressful day, I get to unwind a little bit before I get home. So, but I do think about the fact of that's an hour of my day driving to and from work, which does suck to a point.
Yeah, until you go live in LA or Dallas and you realize that that's pretty not bad. That's where we're kind of spoiled here. My wife's like 3rd generation Henderson, and she's the same way. She's like traveling to the other side of town's like the worst thing ever, and it's like, let's go spend a couple months in Dallas and come back here and enjoy it because it's really not bad here.
Dallas really blew up, didn't it?
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it was good. The area I was in was already exploding.
What city?
So I was in McKinney, but I was actually living in Prosper, which is like Frisco, McKinney, Plano. That whole northern Dallas area has just exploded.
When I was a very small child, we moved to Richardson, Texas.
Oh, it's right there. Yeah, it's
it
not
was
far.
Very small.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No, not at all.
Then, but that was too big a city, so we moved to Sherman, Texas.
Yeah.
Which probably has grown up.
Yeah, no, it's actually I've had family that was living there. And that's just north of McKinney.
Yeah.
And then they actually got a property a little bit further north. Those are the areas I really like.
In Denison?
They were like before there, right outside of Van Alstyne, Tom Bean.
Okay, sure.
Which is like, to me, especially now that 75's expanded, it's like this little country town of like 1,000 people, 2-3 acre lot on an old house, but well, at least when they bought it, I think they got it for like $80,000 with like 2 acres, rebuilt the whole thing. But now those home values have gone up a little bit, but still like you're 30, 40 minutes outside of a major metroplex, but you live out in the country. And there's little towns like that all over that entire metroplex that I could totally go live in. I would be okay with a 40-hour drive even to live in.
Did you ever get up to Lake Texoma?
So that's funny. They actually moved. They slowly worked their way all the way to Oklahoma. So they've got a lake house on Lake Texoma. And then they just recently, in the last 2 years, bought a house in Oklahoma. And that's where they're spending the majority of their time now, though.
You know the road that goes over the dam?
Yeah.
At the very end of that road is the finest Mexican restaurant in the world.
Okay.
Food. Next time you're there, just go over the dam. The road Y's off. You go a little straight up, make a right, and head to Paris.
Okay.
Right, Paris is out there. Or right on that corner of the Y is a little house that's been there about 80 years, and it's a Mexican restaurant. Best one I've ever been to.
What's it called?
The Cantina, I think.
Okay. They have to know what it is. I'll ask them.
You ever been to Eisenhower Yacht Club?
No.
No, it's a fancy word for sheet metal buildings floating on styrofoam. But that's the life
is that
of
where
Texas.
everybody has like the apartments on Lake Texoma?
Yeah.
Like
those things. They're great.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some of them are built out like crazy. Like they've got the dry dock, you can lift your boat up, and then above it they'll build out full condos that are just insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Long time ago they were just sheet metal.
Yeah.
When the wind blew sideways with the rain, it came in to visit you.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually haven't been out there in a minute. I need to get out and visit them. My daughters will go out for like 2 weeks every summer because it's their grandparents. It's my ex-wife's side of the family. I haven't been out in a minute though. I need to get out there. I'm definitely going to take you up on that though.
Yeah.
They definitely have to know where it is. They travel all over. That's how they started moving out. Was like they were in Little Elm, which is like closer to Frisco in the Metroplex. And then they've just slowly, like they spend their weekends driving. All right, we're going to drive to this little town 200 miles this way and go check it out. And it's pretty much what they did every weekend for like 6 or 7 years, just checking places out. And then they'd find, I'm going to buy a spot here. And then they move there, and I've kind of done that all the way into Oklahoma now.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I could totally live like that. Like if I could get out right now, I have no interest because I've got 3 kids in high school. But I could see myself eventually living somewhere like that. Like I could totally deal with like country living. I almost did at one point too. I like the idea of doing like pastured raised eggs and farming chickens. And like, I actually went to a convention for it and almost moved back out there to do it. And then my wife got pregnant with our now 5-year-old, and she's third generation Henderson. And she's like, I'm not moving to the middle of nowhere, Texas, where I don't know anybody while I'm pregnant. That's the only thing that kept us here.
Do you do the grocery shopping?
Sometimes.
You? No. Next time you go grocery shopping, you got to try this. Walk in the grocery store and go to the egg section. Don't worry about what it costs. You know, I gave my wife a dozen eggs for Valentine's, and they're called happy eggs.
Uh-huh.
And you open the box, and every other one or every third one is a brown egg. The other ones are blue. But when you cook them, right, and you poach them, I like poached eggs, and you make a sauce for them, things like that. They're the finest, best eggs you've ever seen. And the color inside the yolk,
Dark.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. It's called happy eggs.
Yeah.
And I found them down at Smith's last week, and I thought, well, that's a great Valentine's present. I don't know what you did for your wife, but I stepped up and bought a dozen eggs.
I'm going to use that next year.
Yeah, that works out just fine.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. The difference in them. What's nuts is like, I like really went down the rabbit hole of like wanting to go do that. I actually saw another veteran who started something in Southern California, pasture bird. Now you find them everywhere. Like I think they actually got product in Sprouts even now, but he got out of the military, got 50 chickens just for like his backyard that he figured he was going to do for the family. But then the family pitched in on it to do it. And so he got like investment from a couple family members, got 50 chicks, started raising them up for meat birds, and decided to post on social media that he had these birds that he was going to sell. And they all sold like immediately. So then he took that money and told the family like, all right, we got to wait a little bit. These ones are sold. And then he started getting more. And then he grew it into this giant pasture raised where now he's got big giant coops that hold like hundreds and hundreds of birds, that the whole thing is on wheels, that every day they move it to a new spot. And so I got totally into that whole like Joel Salatin, and I went to convention for it to go like meet the people that are already doing it. And yeah, I could see myself doing that one day. Like, I don't know why, but that sounds cool. And right now I think it's needed. Like if you really look at like the health issue in our country right now, it's mainly because most of the food that's available to people is just processed crap food. And, you know, before World War I, World War II, it was like 90% of Americans farmed at least something that they were eating weekly. Now,
So
it's
you're
like,
a fan of RFK?
I am actually.
Has he been on the show yet?
I wish.
Call him up.
Yeah, you can come on anytime you want. But I think at the end of the day, the real problem with the healthcare system, not to get all crazy, but the insurance being crappy and all of that other stuff is a side effect of our health is so bad. Like we're eating worse and worse and worse, less and less active. So more and more people are unhealthy. So of course the cost of healthcare is going to go up because we're in the worst shape we've ever been in ever. Cool thing is we live in a time right now because of stuff like this and YouTube and the internet and people like RFK talking about it. I think we're like at least going to start seeing the downturn from it eventually. I think it's like everything else in nature, right? Something gets really bad. It has to get bad enough for you to realize it's bad to then make a correction. And so hopefully we'll actually be going in a direction where I don't think the government's going to be able to mandate anything. They could probably help, but at least having the conversation that like, hey, seed oils are probably not meant to be eaten. They were lubricants for farm equipment, and they figured out how to stabilize it and make food last forever. And that's why it's in everything now, because they can say no preservatives and just put some canola oil in it and it'll stay on the shelf for 2 months. But like it stays on the shelf for 2 months because even bacteria and fungus won't eat it because they don't recognize it as food. But you're going to eat it. And now what are the bacteria in your gut going to do? And like this would have not been a conversation the average person would have had even 10 years ago. So, and now you're hearing it all over the place. So I'm hopeful that we'll get our act together. But it's going to have to take people just being educated and doing it on their own. I don't think the government's going to be able to mandate anything. So I don't think he's going to like overnight make America healthy, but at least the conversation's happening.
That's the big thing.
So
People actually start talking about it and actually start conversating and then looking into it. They're just shining a light on it. I mean, like I said, 10 years ago, I had no idea about any of this stuff. And 10 years ago, I was 236 pounds. Actually, yeah, about 10 years ago, I was about 236 pounds. And then slowly started getting a hold of my health, just getting into running, and then slowly I got into long distance running. I wanted to get faster, lose weight. How do I now affect that? And start changing my food, start playing around with my diet, and then he got me into numerous rabbit holes with how he gets into things, and then it's now at a point that
and then just seeing like our dad. Like he put so much into building this up and getting it where it is, and now he can't even enjoy it because he didn't take care of his health along the way. But it's no fault of his own. Like their generation when we were young was like being told non-fat, low fat, like here, eat Snackwells. Like the advice that the general public was getting back then was so bad, and then not realizing you need to prioritize your own health in order to actually be able to take care of your business and stuff long term. That's becoming more and more of a topic. We just had somebody in the industry that we've known since we were little kids just die 2 days ago from cancer. Same thing. Just like there's a whole generation of people out there that were given really bad nutritional advice and didn't prioritize their health. And I mean, this is like 1 million people a year die from basically diseases that don't even have to exist. Cancer, heart disease, stroke. I mean, that's crazy. Like, look what we did for COVID. With whatever you think about that and how many people died, it's awful, whatever. But like you're still talking hundreds of thousands over the course of a couple of years, maybe, if that's how bad the numbers are. But there's 1 million people dying every single year because our food system's so broken and most people can't afford to eat cleanly.
Yeah. Well, that was another necessity too when we were growing up. Like we got KFC because at the time my dad was trying to build a small business. My mom was working for Vons at the time. Like that's what they had. I don't know how my dad did it. Like putting the hours you have to put in to run a business, and then he's raising 3 kids and then putting us through sports at the same time. Like I have 1 kid and that's already stressful enough.
And I take that back. The not affording it is also, I think, a misconception because it's just too convenient to eat cheaply. Like, or at least what seems like cheaply, like going and getting dollar menu at McDonald's or whatever. But if you like, if you try to eat healthy right now and you want to do it in a convenient way, like maybe like something like Chipotle might be decent. But if you look at the cost of a Chipotle bowl compared to what you could get those same ingredients for and make it at home, you could make like 7 to 8 bowls for what you're spending on one bowl, paying for the convenience. And unfortunately, humans want things to be easy and convenient. It's the reason why kids are getting handed tablets to babysit them for 3 or 4 hours at a time, rather than putting it away and taking them outside and interacting with them. We've just made everything so easy and convenient that like, hopefully more people wake up and realize, hey, it isn't actually crazy expensive to eat eggs and eat, I guess eggs is a bad example because they're expensive right now, but there's still a cheaper option to get some good protein in your body than most of the things you're going to go get at McDonald's or wherever. Like, the amount of protein you're getting in a Big Mac compared to eating a couple eggs and the cost difference, the eggs are going to be cheaper and it's going to be healthier for you. But it takes a little bit of effort. That's the real problem.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, I don't know how we got
That's why we're doing a cooking show.
Yeah.
It's called, right now it's Cooking with Chef Joel Ott. But the final one you'll see on TV will have a spin on the name. But yeah, it's over at the Ahern. If you ever want the best steak in town, you're going to go to the Ahern Hotel. They do not charge for parking currently. I don't know if they will in the future, but they don't. The other hotels do. You're going to go up to Big Joel's Chop House, and you're going to have a big steak. On Tuesdays, they have Tomahawk Tuesdays.
Oh, nice.
It's massive. It feeds 2 people easy, but it's just massive. You can get one of those or any type of big piece of meat that's fun. That is not inexpensive, but it's a treat. Maybe once a month you can go there.
Yeah.
Take your sweetie. Right? You leave the kids at home for this one.
Yeah.
You go there, relax, and have a good time. And they always have some event or something going on. They also have some really great shows over there. I'm not talking about this, but talking about food. While you're having dinner, you go to the Beatles. They have a Beatles show over there. They'll knock your socks off. And you're right in front of it. You're like right here with the Beatles, right in front of you. Just, wow. And then you have a nice dinner. So it's something to think about for you. Take your sweeties over to Joel's Chop House. When you come by, I'll give you directions on how to get there. And if you tell them, Dr. Atomic, they'll take care of you. Make sure you're extra happy. So it's fun. Yeah, and I like to cook. Who's a cook here? You cook?
I cook.
I like to cook.
I like to cook. Yeah. It's worth investing in your kitchen.
Yeah, totally. Have good cookware, good knives.
Oh, that's
100%.
One thing that I bought for myself when we moved into our the house we live in right now is I told my wife when we buy this house, like I'm buying my set of knives. I went out and bought a set of Shun Japanese cookware, which it's like, these will be the last knives I have to buy. And like, I was scared to use them to begin with because how sharp they were. And then like, not that many people use them my wife hardly uses them. And like people that come over, like they just kind of sit there, but like I use them constantly and it still cuts. I mean, they're about 6 years old now and it still cuts perfectly. And I haven't had to do much to them at all. Just keep them maintained, wash them correctly, take care of them. So,
you know, I've tried every sharpening stone in the world you can think of. But your Japanese knife company, they make a red block. It's a red sharpening stone. It's real smooth. It feels like velvet. Soak it for about 10 minutes in warm water, and the knives turn out like razor blades. They're incredible.
Yeah.
I bought everything. I even bought you know when they manufacture a knife, they have what looks like a bench grinder with two wheels on it and devices that hold the blades. That's how they take a new knife and make it sharp the first time. I even bought one of those. You know, we have lots of machines, and we have big machines. I have a big machine shop down there, and you know, we hone engines and do all that kind of stuff and bore. But I said, well, we'll get this engine. We can use it for sharpening tools also. All right. It's a lot of work. This one little stone is better than all that. I don't know what the name of it is, but it sure is cool. But it's like you're from your Japanese knife maker.
I'll have to look into that and get that. Well,
so the one major thing we got is you're going to get a new building by Cubes. You're going to have your company party at the Atomic Motors, the big room. We'll make sure you take them well care of there. We got lots of parking, which is always good. 5 acres out there. And your business is growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm glad you're doing a podcast.
Well, we really much appreciate you coming on and sitting down for the conversation. I was really looking forward to this because I know we've had our brief conversations, but I've never actually been able to sit down and have a longer conversation with you. And like I said, I was very excited that Jordan was like, "Hey, Bill's going to come on." I was like, "Yes, this is going to be a fun conversation."
This was a really good one. I learned a lot, and I'm definitely making it over there.
Yeah,
like immediately. I can't believe I haven't been.
We'll take you. I'll put you in the fan van. Remember the fan van you wrapped a long time ago?
Yeah,
it just sits inside. I'll run you up to Cubes and just down the street, 4 blocks, and you can see what they can do.
All right, that
works. I appreciate it.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, you know how this works. Follow, subscribe. If you have any questions anytime, we appreciate you following along, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, thank you. Where can they find you?
704 West Sunset Road. It's Atomic Motors. Anywhere online, atomicmotors.net. We always have between 180 and 300 cars for sale. We also have over 100 motorcycles in the museum. And we offer a gift store for T-shirts, hats, bags, cups. The great part about us is that we're open 7 days a week.
All right. Check them out, guys. Definitely. They're right around the corner from us. I highly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.